What is up, Chi-Town soldiers? Welcome once again to another rendition of the Just Bleed Radio preview show. It's the program built around fight predictions, but it's also been injected with more filler than your favorite actress's BBL. Woo! Speaking of filler, I got a couple of donks with me that would help me fill up your ear hole every single week, and they're back once again. One of them is an Englishman, the other is a Californian, but they both enjoy cold beer and combat. Now, first up, my buddy from the bosom of cultivation, where wildfires rage, but they can't match his passion. It's my guy, No Special. What's up, player?
Sue for the fires. That's right. But yeah, I'm very excited about today. So I'm definitely ready for some fucking combat on the weekend for that comes up after this. So hell yeah, ready to go, sir, with the cold one in hand.
Just like you should be, just like you should be. All right, and the other one is our very own White Rose of Yorkshire. When he's not big upping Tom Aspinall or Dakota Ditcheva, he's probably big upping JBR in the chat for your favorite podcast. It's DangerMouse the Dawn. How we doing, man?
I'm good. My beer isn't that cold, but as I said the other week, I can live with a relatively chilled beer, only slightly chilled. And I keep telling you, it's Yorkshire, not Yorkshire.
I said Yorkshire, didn't I?
Maybe. I think it sounded a bit shirish.
He's being particular about the punctuations.
Yorkshire, down in Yorkshire. All right, well, let's before we get all completely
I'm going John Anik / Luke Thomas on your ass, that's all, lady.
Fair enough. All right, well, now that you've derailed everything here, let's get it back on track. That is the introductions out of the way for you, for you degenerates. But it is time to talk some fights because, gents, it's quite possibly the card of the summer, or at least the most anticipated one of the summer for the main event. Anyhow, mileage may vary on some of the undercard bouts, but I think we can all agree on the magnitude of this main event, and it is of course UFC 319 Plessis versus Chimaev. And as I said, there's plenty of meat on this bone to chew on. So let's not fuck around and let's get right into these fights and get some fight talk going. All right, we'll start with the main card opener, and it's going to go down at 125 pounds. It's the return of Tim Elliott after quite a long layoff, and he'll be taking on Japan's Kai Asakura. Tim Elliott 20-13-1 coming into this fight. Kai Asakura 21-5. Of course, Kai looking to bounce back after his UFC debut, losing to Pantoja in the title fight. Tim Elliott, like I said, he's been out for quite a long period of time here. His last outing was actually a grappling match, but prior to that, his most recent MMA fight was all the way back in December of 2023. So long layoff for the old man, Tim Elliott here, taking on a hard hitter in Kai Asakura. Guys, what do you think goes down in this one? Let's go to Austin first. Austin's got more of a taste for the small guys. So, Austin, what do you think happens in this flyweight matchup?
Well, despite being the man who was cheated on and cheated in the cage, he is a scrappy veteran. Tim Elliott being the one man who you can usually count on to kind of scrap no matter what his opponent's going to be able to do. He might not have what it takes, though, to beat Kai Asakura. Yes, he is coming off of a title fight loss that was slightly one-sided, but he gave it his best effort. His reputation is, though, a wild card. He's going to throw things at you, and usually you're not going to survive it. And he's got the resume to kind of prove that too. So he's still young. And he's still extremely capable. He's a little on the bigger side for the weight class, but that's okay because he's still one of those guys you don't want to sleep on and underestimate. Tim has that reputation as well, but Tim is on the older side, has not fought in over a year almost, and definitely has, lost to some decent competition that I think Kai might actually be able to beat pretty handily. But that's why I'm going to go with the young competitor here over the veteran. And sorry, Tim, you may have been cheated on and have cheated in the cage, but I have no sympathy for you.
Cold-blooded. Oh, let me recover from that for a moment. But DangerMouse, not quite as bad as some of the matchups that we've been seeing recently on these cards as far as age. But Tim Elliott, 38 years old, Kai Oscore, 31. So fair little gap between them there. It ought to be a good scrap. But when the cage door closes, what do you think happens between these two flyweights?
Yeah, obviously I haven't seen very much of Kai. Only he's lost to Pantoja because all of his other fights are in Rising. Tim Elliott, I'm very much aware of. At least how long the guy's been around. There has been that thing in the past, I think, that Japanese fighters coming over to America have tended to struggle. Something about the, flying over the date line, I guess it is, the time zone shift, doesn't seem to work very well for Asians coming into America as opposed to going around the other way. But having said that, Austin's already said it really. Tim Elliott is a bit old. He's getting on a bit. This other guy is younger, stronger, fitter, probably. So, yeah, I don't know much about him, but I'll almost certainly be picking Kai Asakura for this one.
Fuck me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the age thing is definitely going to play a factor here. And combine that with the inactivity because, yeah, to correct you there, Austin, nearly 2 years off for Tim Elliott. Like I mentioned in the little brief introduction, hasn't fought since December 9th, 2023 against Suma Darji, which he did win that fight, and he did win it by submission, which if I recall that fight, it was pretty impressive because there was some weird stuff going on there, some fouling, some things of that nature that kind of followed Tim Elliott. He's known to be a bit of a cheater in the cage. Maybe he's a cheater outside of the cage. Maybe that's why karma made him get cheated on in his personal life, but I mean, we're really going at Tim Elliott here. I'm sorry, I didn't expect this. 9-11 in the UFC. That's not very good. His better years are clearly behind him. I don't think that Kai Asakura has the most upside left in his career, because he's been in some fucking wars over in Rise, and the fights and the clips that I have seen of him over there, like, he's no stranger at taking one to give one. So he's not exactly, fresh as a daisy out there, despite being 7 years younger. But I think he's fresh enough to get the win in this one. I think that I don't know if he finishes Tim, because Tim's a pretty tough guy, but he has the ability. I think in the end, he's just going to do enough, be active enough, have enough activity to edge this one out over Tim Elliott. So, yeah, give me Kai Asakura as well. Clean sweep across the board. All right, we will move on from that one to the next fight on the main card here. And this one will go down in the middleweight division, and it's going to be between two unks indeed. A couple of guys, one in his late 30s, the other in his early 40s, but both contenders in their respective divisions. This MVP's, I guess, official announcement as being a middleweight. He's not going back down, it seems, to welterweight, and he'll be taking on a perennial contender here in Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier, a guy that is 18-8 in the UFC, but that record's kind of a bit mistelling because he's gone against some of the best in his career. Kind of a high-end gatekeeper, if you will, a guy that's challenged for the title before. And is coming off a win himself against Gregory Rodriguez, where he did put RoboCop out. But he'll be taking on Michael Venom Page, who is always dangerous, always a deadly striker, probably one of the faster guys in either welterweight or middleweight, despite his age. So this is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a fun one to watch go down. We'll go to you first, DangerMouse. You got an Englishman on, or at least a British guy, going at it here. Who do you think takes this battle of middleweight contenders potentially with Jared Cannonier and Michael Page?
Yeah, this one's going to be an interesting fight. I think for Cannonier, this is going to be an awkward fight because MVP has that strange fighting style. He's excellent on movement. We know he's not going to stand in the pocket with Cannonier and just slang and bang, because that's not his style at all. He's going to be in and out, because that is just what he does. There is nothing unusual about MVP fighting that way. And Cannonier does not seem to have any. I'm just looking at his record now. He doesn't have any subs on his record. I'm guessing he's not that great at tying people up against the cage and cornering them up against the cage so he can cut down their movement, which seems to be the best way to beat MVP. And I'm not sure Cannonier's got the the ability to do that. He goes through a lot of close decisions. He's lost to Cabrello and Nasruddin Imavov recently. He beat Strickland by a gnat's hair. I can just see, I'm not even being patriotic here, really. I can just see MVP picking away at him and beating him by probably a 29-28, probably a split decision. Maybe not, maybe a unanimous decision. My mouth's not working tonight. And MVP for me on this one, I think. After all that waffling.
I'll jump in the middle here real quick. You said it pretty well, DangerMouse. I think you're kind of right on the money there. I think that MVP going to be a little bit too quick, a little bit too fast, starting in and out, too agile, too much speed on the hands. The styles making fights kind of a thing in this matchup. I think it's going to bite Jared Cannonier in the ass. He always has that puncher's chance because he does hit like a ton of bricks, but he's going to have to find MVP to put his hands on him. And I think that it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to find MVP than he's probably thinking or anticipating. So, yeah, I would probably lean MVP in this one. I don't know that he puts Jared away because Jared's been getting cracked lately, and he hasn't really been finished. So, yeah, probably give me Michael Page by decision. So that leaves you, Austin. What do you got on this middleweight matchup between Jared Cannonier and Michael Venom Page?
If I can just say, Cannonier did get finished by Nasruddin Imavov earlier.
Oh yeah, that's
you could argue. You could argue that was an early stoppage, though.
Yeah, I think that was kind of what I was thinking.
I know. I just saw his name and wanted to use it.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. So you guys have already said the things that should be said. One is definitely got the better game for point fighting and is extremely dangerous when he's doing it. MVP is a sniper, athletically gifted, and he's not afraid to get in there and mix it up if he needs to, even in the grappling sense, honestly. And he's extremely capable even in the later stages of his career. We've seen it at middle welterweight. Now him moonlighting as a middleweight because he beat Shara Bullet, and he looked good doing it. Now let's see if he could do something against a guy who's fought for a title and has been a staple in this division. I'm going to possibly veer off the typical pick here. The brain should say MVP, but the heart is going to go with Mr. Crystals, and he may just find the button. He may just find the button. It's not that MVP can't get knocked out. It's that I think he may just hurt him once or twice, and that may be enough for Mr. Cannonier to actually take the tide of the fight away from MVP. Because I'm imagining this is going to be one of those tricky fights where MVP is going to be winning until he loses type thing. And I think Cannonier is still capable despite being slightly older, although they're both on the older side in this case. But I think it's Cannonier's fight to lose, and it should be Cannonier who takes the decision from him.
I think it's going to be a fun fight, though. I feel like this one's just kind of got the makings of, because sometimes both these guys can get involved in fights that aren't necessarily the most enjoyable to watch, just because against different styles they become kind of methodical. But I feel like against one another, they're kind of going to shine, and I think this, I don't know, potentially a fight of the night, maybe between two old dudes, which is crazy to say.
Wow, old.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to go at it, and it's going to be fun to watch. But also, can't say fight of the night too early because the next one has the writings of a fight of the night all over it, and it's a rebooking. Actually, this is a fight that was supposed to happen back in April, but we're getting it now here in August. It's a welterweight matchup between, I believe, both ranked contenders. You got the 21-7 Carlos Prates taking on 16-6 Jeff Neal. Prates coming into this one off of his most recent fight being a loss to Ian Gary in a competitive showing. Everyone remembers Ian Gary crawling on all fours. That's the long-lasting image of that fight. I don't care what anyone says. Let's go fucking Carlos. Let's go. No bias. But then standing across from him, Jeff Neal, coming into this one off of a win, but kind of a fluky one with the knee injury against RDA. If you guys recall, the RDA's knee going out and it being ruled a TKO win, which might have been Jeff's doing, but we'll never know. It's neither here nor there. But these two guys are going to get in there and they're going to sling them things, and this looks like it's going to have all the makings of a extremely fun stand-up fight. Probably won't be much grappling. DangerMouse, you were first on the last one, so we'll go to you first on this one. Austin, Brazil versus the United States, Fighting Nerds versus Fortis MMA. Who takes this one between Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates?
It's kind of an interesting fight to begin with, because Prates in his last outing, like you said, he had pretty much handedly lost majority of that fight until like the last 30 seconds. And then only then when he got the knockdown and made Mr. Gary Machado look all silly. Was the only time he seemed to be actually in command of that fight. And that's kind of the thing where I think Jeff Neal is going to meet him with that power striking that, Prates likes to bring. And, much like his fight with Mr. Gary, he kind of left a little bit to be desired. Those knees up the middle definitely kept him from advancing, and taller fighters usually don't play the same game that Neal likes to have. But in this case, I think it's going to be both of them willing to kind of stand in the pocket and trade, and it's just a matter of who's going to go down first. And I believe that Prates is going to play into Neal's game a little bit more than he should. He could probably win if he stands outside and, chooses to kind of ride the circle a little bit, bring Neal into him. But I think he's going to do the thing that you probably shouldn't with a shorter power striker and walk into him and leave your chin open. And he's probably going to get popped a handful of times. And then one of these times he's going to get knocked down on his butt. Neal's going to look for the finish. And I don't know if Neal finishes him, but I'm going to take Neal on a little bit of a flyer here. Give me Neal via third round KO.
Ooh. All right, yeah. I mean, it could definitely happen. I mean, everybody knows Jeff Neal, hands of fucking steel. The guy can, if he could do anything, he can knock somebody out. That's still not a bad decision there. I'm not mad at that. All right, DangerMouse, yeah, let's go to you next. I can't see you picking a Team LazyBed member here, but maybe you do. Maybe you surprise me. Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates at welterweight, 3 rounds. Who wins it?
Well, I don't let other people's draft picks generally influence my choices. I'm strictly about all getting those wins in the right column. So, but I don't know on this one. I'm just having. We really only just discussed doing this preview show, so I haven't really taken a lot of look at the cards the fights that were coming up on this one. Knew the main event, obviously, but yeah. And obviously I was getting confused with Jeff Neal here on this fight. Jeff Neal has only been knocked out once, a TKO loss, and that was by Kevin Holland back on when they were fighting for some middleweight, I think, championship in some relatively minor organization. And looking at Prates has actually been knocked out twice. And as Austin was saying, if Jeff Neal stands in the pocket and just bangs, the guy's dangerous. I mean, look at Shavkat took virtually the entire fight to finish him off, and it was only after that he ever struggled against someone, because that was obviously the Machado Gary fight that he won on points. So yeah, I can see Jeff Neal being a real danger here. I think before I 100% commit to this one, I'm going to have to see where the odds are going on it and have a look at what some other people think. But yeah, it would not surprise me if Jeff Neal gets this one. The problem is that Austin almost always is a bit like Dave, and he makes the outrageous picks that no one else makes. So that worries me. He does occasionally get
Take a chance. Take a chance, Mouse. Come on.
Please. So yeah, at the moment I'm kind of edging towards Jeff Neal. So yeah, put me down for Jeff Neal for the moment. But
yeah, eat shit, Lazy.
It's not a bad selection. Like, I could easily see it happening, because Carlos he's willing to engage in scenarios where Jeff Neal kind of thrives, because Carlos, he's not hesitant to get into the pocket. While he does have good distance striking, he's more than willing to fight in a phone booth. And that could be a recipe for disaster against somebody like Jeff Neal. But at the same time, it could also be a recipe for disaster for Jeff Neal because Carlos Prates fucking cracks too. The guy's notorious for knocking people out. So,
well, unless his chin's gone in the last few fights.
Yeah, we'll see.
Just looking at it there. Yeah, it was January the 28th, 2017, the last time Jeff Neal was finished by TKO. Extreme Knockout 34.
When was the last time Carlos got finished? January 7th, 2017. So it's I would say both these guys, their chins are pretty well tested, but
yeah, I guess so.
Nevertheless, yeah, it's going to be a close fight. I mean, you could just kind of envision it in your mind and tell it's going to be a close fight. But I'll be damned if I ain't going to give the slight lean, slight edge to my draft pick here. I think that he's due for a get right here, and I think that Jeff Neal is the perfect opponent to do it with. I think that Jeff Neal is going to be a willing dance partner. I think that Carlos is just going to be the slightly slicker striker. I think he's going to be slightly more accurate and slightly more evasive. I think he's going to put it on Jeff, and I think he's going to finish Jeff Neal. I'd say second round finish by Carlos Prates.
Bold. I may yet jump ship. I'm not 100% committed on this one.
It's the kind of fight where I wouldn't blame somebody for betting the underdog here because from what I'm seeing, Jeff Neal looking like at least a plus 200 underdog. So.
Oh, is he? Oh, if he's that bigger, if he's that big a gap, then almost certainly I'll be picking Prates.
Prates minus 245.
Yeah, I'm an odds follower.
If the bookmakers see something, DangerMouse sees something too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of seeing something, we might see something here in this next one because it is the co-main event and it is the UFC debut, the official UFC debut of one Aaron Pico, highly touted, highly anticipated prospect, finally making his way into the big leagues, into the big show. And he's getting himself a stiff challenge. While it is not the Movsar Evloev fight that we had thought he was going to get, which would have also been a tough challenge, it's a pretty equally daunting task in taking on England's Lerone Murphy, who is undefeated at 16-0. Aaron Pico, of course, 13-4. Pico, the younger man in this one, he is 28 years old. His most recent win, and this is probably the biggest knock on him, was a W over somebody named Corrales. I don't even know the guy's first name, but it was in the PFL Bellator, and it was all the way back in Henry. Henry Corrales, back in February of 2024. So it's been quite a long time since he's got his feet wet in the cage. Lerone Murphy, his most recent fight, a win over Josh Emmett, in a fight that many people criticized him for being a little bit too safe. But against a guy like Josh Emmett, who can blame you for fighting safe? But yeah, this is gonna be a tough one for both guys here. Aaron Pico, a hell of a wrestler, also can crack. Lerone Murphy, very, very crafty on the feet, great footwork, great elusiveness, as I've said. So it's going to be a fun one. And fittingly enough, I think you're first on this one, DangerMouse, another Englishman. So who do you got on this battle of Lerone Murphy and Aaron Pico at 145?
Yeah, Lerone Murphy, obviously another, as you've said, English fighter. The real bullet, I understand this is the guy, if I remember rightly, this is the guy who has a piece of a bullet in his tongue from when he was shot when he was younger. I'm sure that's true. I don't know much about Aaron Pico, unsurprisingly. Just had a very quick look at his record. There's not really very many names that I can see on there that I know. And looking at Lerone Murphy's, he's got Josh Emmett, Danny Gay, Edson Barboza, a whole. That's a nice little list to have of wins on your career. And I think Lerone Murphy, this one, he either wins by KO or knockout. By knockout or decision, Murphy. So I'd have to do a little bit more thinking, but I'm probably going to go for a Lerone Murphy, maybe a second round KO. Could be, but just as easily could be a decision for him. Yeah, sorry, that's all I've really got on this one. Don't know enough about Aaron Pico. In fact, I know fuck all about Aaron Pico.
I think that that's probably the case for most people, and for the ones that do know about him, it seems like there's a large or heavy sentiment that he's going to come in here and somehow wash Lerone Murphy, and I don't necessarily think that's the case. Yeah, he's getting very highly hyped, though. There's a lot of people that are on the Aaron Pico train, but anyways, Austin, we're going to let you jump in second. I have a feeling you are one of the people that knows quite a bit about Aaron Pico. I'm sure you do, in fact. But he's like I said, stiff challenge here. Tall drink of water in this division against Lerone Murphy. Who do you think is going to come out of this one victorious and likely a good likelihood title shot in their near future?
Well, I need to say this first because the original fight that was proposed, that is thankfully not happening, despite Dana's best wishes that it would, is because Mozart deserves the fucking title fight. I'm sorry. I have to say this now. Fuck Yair Rodriguez. Fuck the UFC. If you choose to fucking take a fight to make a contender lose because you don't want to see him in the title fight, go fuck yourself. Why are you even in the fucking sport, you piece of shit? Anywho, Aaron Pico is a former national champion wrestler in his youth, and he was good enough to go to like international competition out of high school. So he pretty much was a young athlete right off the bat. He's a Golden Gloves winner in boxing, as well as being very capable in he's a well-rounded athlete. Let's just be honest. His Bellator run has not been the best, only because he did not know the limits of his own abilities, and unfortunately, too, it took him a while to even find out who he was as a fighter because he was fighting under his father's, training, and that's not, his coaching wasn't necessarily under question. It's just a matter of how do you build prospects. They found out real quick. Sometimes you can't just throw them into the deep end of the pool, despite how good they are outside of the cage. He has now figured out who he is, and he is a man who has he probably has some of the best boxing in the division now, aside from some of the other former champions that were there. And he really has a wrestling pedigree that should carry him to the title. I believe Lerone Murphy is a capable fighter. I think it's taken him too long to get here, and unfortunately, he'll be old by the time he actually gets to a title. And I think his prime will pass him. That's what's going to happen right now because Aaron Pico's probably going to fucking finish him, and he's going to make it look easy too. Lerone Murphy has been hurt in nearly his last few fights, almost twice, and those guys couldn't capitalize on it because A, they're older, B, he was able to survive, and C, he's actually capable of finding moments to win the fight and take the momentum away from his opponents. He's not going to do that against a younger guy in Pico who has been capable of finding everybody's chin at some point. And the ones that he hasn't is because it was early on in his career or due to injury. And here's the thing. Pico has been sitting on the shelf for about a year. He's going to be pissed. He's going to be looking to make moves, and he's going to be looking to actually become a contender in this division. He beats Lerone Murphy in impressive fashion. He's going to do it. I would not tell you to tell him to get a title fight off of this because he's not there yet. He needs at least one or two more wins, and then we can talk about him being a true contender. He removes a piece off the board. He's on his way to that title. Until then, I'm going to say Aaron Pico, first round KO.
Ooh.
Whoa. Oh, all right. Yeah, I like that. That's a big one. That does leave me to discuss this fight. I feel like you guys said the majority of everything needs to be said. You both kind of took each side. Lerone Murphy, he's a really good fighter. Similar to what we were kind of talking about in the weekend roundup of this week that will have aired by the time people listen to this. But he's kind of a jack of all trades fighter. Although striking is primarily his game, he does have wrestling ability. He's certainly got anti-wrestling ability. The boxing is good. The kickboxing is great. He could do everything pretty fucking good. And certain things he could do pretty damn fucking good. So that's how you've seen him get to this, spotless 16-0-1 record. But like you pointed out, Austin, the relative inactivity with him has always bothered me. Now I understand he's gone through a lot of things. He's had a lot of injuries of his own. Just things that have occurred that have kept him basically fighting once a year for many, many fucking years. And he typically only fights overseas. The guy's fought in Abu Dhabi, I believe, alone, like multiple times. So this is kind of weird to see him taking a short notice fight like this. Either he knows something, or him and his camp think they know something, or think something about Aaron Pico, that they think this is a good matchup for them. Or maybe he was prepping for something we don't know about. I don't know. But it's kind of interesting to see him take a short notice fight like this, especially against a new debuting prospect that, like I've said, has been very highly touted amongst the MMA pundits of the world. So that could be a lean. On the other hand, Aaron Pico, I think he represents something that Lerone Murphy really hasn't experienced in his run, especially not recently. A guy younger than him that is quite possibly more athletic than he is, more explosive than he is, potentially more agile than he is, because that's Lerone's whole game. He can skirt and skid, and he can skip out on you and dart in and get you. Unlike an MVP, it's a more, he can get let off the combos. It's a more tactile kind of hands-on approach than an MVP who is literally in and out. But he is like a I guess like a Leon. He really has that kind of tactical approach and a measured way of fighting that typically wins him fights. But I think in this instance, like I said, he's kind of met his match in the athleticism department. And I think that Pico's going to be able to find him where others have not. He's going to be able to reach out and touch him where others haven't been able to. And I think he could give Lerone a pretty tough fight. And I don't think that he necessarily knocks him out in the first like Austin. But I'm going to go a little crazy here too, and I do think that Aaron Pico is going to hand Lerone Murphy his first career loss. I think he's going to win a decision here, and I think he's going to use his wrestling. Who, me? I think he's going to be able to find Lerone where others haven't and take him down and control him.
Interesting.
I hadn't realised this was a short notice fight for Lerone Murphy, to be honest. That may change things a little bit. But then again, we have Aaron Pico as a debutant. Those UFC bright lights, we've seen quite a few PFL / Bellator fighters fade under those the first time they step into that cage. So who knows? Yeah.
And it's not like Pico hasn't been finished before. He has been knocked out, and Lerone can strike. Lerone can definitely strike. It's the most interesting thing I'll say about this fight, and it's pretty odd. Aaron Pico's coming into this fight at what I'm seeing a minus 135 favorite. Minus 135 favorite, and Lerone coming in at a plus 115. So it's near even, but a Bellator debutant, the favorite over an undefeated fighter with tons of experience in the UFC under his belt is pretty weird. We shall see. We'll find out. That's our co-main event, fellas.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, and that leaves us with just the main event left to discuss, and it's the big one. It's the fucking... I've been saying it for weeks. I've been saying it for months. It's the fight of the summer. This is the fight John Anik said at the beginning of the year. It was his most anticipated fight to see in 2025, and he's getting it. He's getting it. We're getting it. We're all fucking getting it. It's going to be the middleweight title on the line, middleweight gold hanging in the balance. DDP looking to defend once again. And he's taking on the boogeyman, or at least the boogeyman of 2020. It's Khamzat Chimaev finally getting his title shot that a lot of people felt was inevitable. They thought this was going to happen one way or another. It was written in stone, and it is later than we had wished. But he's finally here. He's in the U.S. He's on American soil. Has been for several weeks, from what I understand. It's all going to go down. DDP is in Chicago himself. In just about a week's time, that cage door is going to lock behind these guys, and Bruce Buffer is going to do the whole "it's time" spiel. So, I mean, two absolute juggernauts here. It's a coin flip as far as I'm concerned, no matter what the odds say. Austin, I believe you're up first on this one. Khamzat Boris Chimaev. He's taking on Dricus du Plessis, Mr. Still Knocks himself. Who do you think walks out of UFC 319 with that middleweight gold strapped around their waist?
Well, both of these men, devastating fashion, have been pillars of chaos in their careers. And they have either ran over their opposition or have made it pretty competitive in an unnecessary way. And what I mean by that is fights have been close. Drakus versus Strickland won. I mean, hell, even Drakus's rise to the title, where it was just kind of unprecedented how awkward this baby giraffe managed to find himself in a contendership. And Chimaev, having been a contender at welterweight, finding himself, on the shelf for far too long, having issues getting in and out of, his area where he resided in, he found himself needing to change, as well as injuries and health issues of his own to have to deal with. Both of these men have basically made it a point to either leave no doubt or to make sure that they were for sure the winners. And they have done it in, like I said, near devastating fashion. Both of them have a win over my beloved Bobby Nux, and they made sure that whoever they have fought, whether they are former champions or not, there was no doubt that they were the guy. Now, I'm going to steal a line from Daz, Rikio, longtime listener and a fan of ours and other shows. He called this fight the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, and he also said, it's like Crash Bandicoot versus the Tasmanian Devil. And he said, Khamzat was the Tasmanian Devil. Just this, run downhill, just, you're not going to really stop what's going to happen to you kind of thing. Whereas Drakus is Crash Bandicoot. He seems like he'll find a way to win despite looking, like he can kind of like accidentally fall through the wall, kind of like in those old cartoons where it's just like, oh, wow, okay, he's here. you know, in my opinion, this is Drakus's fight to lose. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Drakus has proven he's a genuine article as a champion. And Khamzat has gone the distance, but not over 5 rounds. He's not a guy that I would have a ton of faith in looking good in the 4th and 5th. And there's reasons to that, I believe Drakus is going to come away with this decision win, and it's not going to be a split either. I think it's going to be him showing why he's holding the belt. And Khamzat is going to look at this and think, okay, well, I know what I need to improve on, and I'm going to probably come back sooner than later. And in my humble opinion, Drakus is going to take a 3-2 decision over Khamzat Chimaev. That's what I got.
I like that. I think that's a very good prediction. Very high likelihood that does occur. I'm not sure if I should jump in here or DangerMouse should, but we'll go to DangerMouse. Mouse, what can be said that hasn't been said? This is clearly going to be what looks to be a fight for all times. Probably going to be one that we remember for many years to come. You got two guys here that are seemingly pretty equally matched. They're both the same age, which kind of shocked me. Both these dudes 31 years old. But you got a guy in DDP here with almost twice the experience of Khamzat, and against, top level competition, against title fights, things of that nature. But you got Khamzat, he's a murderer. I mean, he's crushing people's faces literally, and just scary guy for anyone to fight. Although I don't think that DDP is really a guy that gets scared. So I'm leaning all kinds of different ways. What do you think? Who wins this bout? Who wins this middleweight championship main event between Khamzat and DDP?
Well, as you said, one of the fights of the year that everyone was looking forward to, other than the one that we never fucking got, of course. Chimaev, the most dangerous fighter in the first round in the UFC, without a shadow of a doubt. This guy comes in, he kills people in that first round usually. There's very few people who get away from it unscathed. Usman managed it, but he got 10-8'd in that round. And if you get 10-8'd in a 3-round fight, you're in a lot of trouble. Even in a 5-round fight, that's a lot of a lot of momentum to get claim back if Hamzat can do it. And I think he certainly can take Dricus down. Dricus, I believe, has got a 50% takedown defense, something like that. And Robert Whittaker said he'd never faced anything like it when Chimaev came in for that takedown. He was so fast, on him all over a quick. And I think Dricus has suggested he might come forward and try and meet him in the wrestling. I think that would be a very, very bad idea if he attempts that. I know we've seen his jiu-jitsu. He's supposedly very good. He submitted an entire team of black belts, I believe. But as we know, there are black belts and there are black belts. Chimaev does not like really, really good jiu-jitsu. That was why he didn't stay on the ground with Gilbert Burns when he had the fight with him, because he felt himself being attempted arm locked and thought, no, I want nothing to do with this. Let's stand up and fight. So I guess if Dricus can do that, we might see the fight go longer. This is such a tough one. I will say this very briefly, if you haven't watched it already, we did a great video on Hamzat Chimaev's career on Just Bleed Radio, so be sure to check that one out. I'm edging towards Chimaev being able to do it. I think he can maybe just roll Dricus over somehow in that first round, because he's just done it to so many people. But if it gets past the second round, then, if I was live betting, I'd be putting money on Dricus. And to be honest, as I said it the other night in Main Card Minute, Dricus is plus money at the moment. If you are a betting man, then slap a few quid on Dricus, because that is a very, very, very good bet for you. Because even though I'll probably pick Chimaev, because also I'm not entirely sure if I don't have Chimaev down as being middleweight champion at the end of this year in the MK champs pick. So, but yeah, I'll be picking Chimaev almost certainly for this one. Love Dricus. He's a crazy fighter. I can easily see him winning, but he has to survive that first round, and just no one really has so far, apart from Burns, I guess, and Osman. But yeah.
No one has, except for these two guys.
Yeah. You know what I mean, though. He's so tough to overcome. And even if you just 10-8s Dricus in the first round, well, all of a sudden that's a massive, massive bonus, because he's still strong in the second round. We've seen that, and he can definitely go to 3 rounds. So if he gets to that stage and he's won one of those rounds again with the first, then all of a sudden Dricus is looking at either getting a draw or he has to get the finish. I will say I would not be completely surprised if we got a draw for this fight, which would be hilariously funny for this event. It would not surprise me that much.
Oh, well, I'll give my take here, and I'll keep it brief. One, because you guys summed it up pretty well there, and I think a lot of people are gonna really break down this fight better than I, or better than we, but also because my microphone's quickly dying. So I'll just say that, I think the whole world knows it, or at least the whole world thinks that if DDP can drag him past the second round at most, it's probably going to be his fight to lose. Chimaev, an absolute whirlwind, a tornado in that first round. But I think that if anybody can withstand that onslaught, it's going to be a guy like DDP, who's he's built for war. When he goes into a fight, I'm pretty sure he's ready to kill someone or die. And when somebody like him says that, I don't doubt it. So Chimaev, I kind of question his heart. I kind of question push come to shove, and things get tough, the waters start getting deep, and they start churning. Is he going to have what it takes? And I'm going to, believe it or not, I'm going to pull on a Sean Strickland quote here, who basically said that when he was in the gym with Chimaev picked the easy guys to roll with. He picked the easy guys to spar with. He hand selected who he was going to roll with in practice because he wanted to look good and he didn't really want to be pressed. And I think that kind of reflects who he is as a person and who he is as a fighter and who he is in life. And I think that DDP is the exact opposite of that. I think he's the guy that picks the toughest fight in the room. And I think that's gonna bear its head in this fight. And I think that I think DDP is gonna withstand the early onslaught. He's gonna push Chimaev, and I think in the end he is gonna be the one to submit Hamzat Chimaev. 4th or 5th round submission, DDP retains the title.
Who, me?
Wow!
Oh shit!
That is really, really bold. I will just say I can't remember which interview it was I was listening to, but they were saying that it was some of his Swedish teammates, and they were saying that Chimaev is exactly the beast you see in the cage when they're training as well. He really does roll over people that easily. So we will see on Saturday. I can't wait. This is a fight I'm genuinely looking forward to. So
yeah, one of the few fights all year where it's like you could feel like the tension is boiling, the tension is building. Like I can't wait for fucking weigh-ins. The weigh-ins are going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Insert Just Bleed guy.
Yeah, the pre-fight press conference stuff when DDP probably makes Chimaev cry. That's going to be great.
Yeah, if he does that, then I'm not picking Chimaev.
Well, I think he's made his last two opponents cry.
Yeah, sure. So. Strickland and Izzy.
Yeah. Oh, and also, quick shout out before we get out of here on this week's weigh-in show, the official UFC weigh-in show. Guess who's back? The greatest living American, Brian Stan, will be joining us this week on the UFC weigh-in show. Thank you for coming, Brian Stan. Let's fucking go.
Oh my God, I miss that man.
I heard that. I was like, yes, Brian Stan. Fuck yeah. All right. Well, we've go ahead.
No, I'm just looking at the rest of this card. This is really, really looking good, actually. King Green, Joe Mearshart, Luke Godinez, Jessica Andrade, Chase Hooper, Edson Barbosa, Nursultan Ruziboyev, Brian Battle. Yeah, there's lots of fun fights on this card.
What do you telling me that there's names I actually recognize? What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, red names I recognize.
even discount Forrest Griffin can show up on a card. Apparently,
in fact, in all fairness, I don't think that. Oh, maybe Carlos Diego Ferreira. I'm not sure I know that guy, but I know everyone else. Yeah,
it's going to be a good one. I hope that everybody listening make sure they tune in to UFC 319, but more importantly, tune back in here to Just Bleed Radio after UFC 319, Monday morning, bright and early for the Weekend Roundup. We will go over all these selections that we just made. And speaking of Just Bleed Radio and the Weekend Roundup, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell a friend. Because we need more subscribers. We need to hit that 200 subscriber mark before our second year anniversary, which is quickly approaching. So come on, guys, get us to that point. But until then, we've gone just about long enough on this one. So I'm going to get us the fuck on out of here. I am LazyBed. They are DangerMouse and No Special. And this has been the Just Bleed Radio UFC 319 preview show. Goodbye.
See ya.
Later. We did it. Yeah! Woo-hoo.
Fuck me. If Neil wants to win this one, he's going to have to somehow get MVP up against the cage. I was just looking at Neil's record, and sorry, Cannoneer. Am I getting my fights mixed up here?
Yeah, it's Cannoneer. I was wondering about your second deal.
I don't know why I said Jeff Neal there. I've got him on my mind, obviously. He's fighting later, isn't he? So Cannoneer. Sorry, I guess I'm going to have to change that around a little bit then. My thoughts there. Cut this bit out, Dave. Yeah, for...
Ooh. 'Cause I don't want to miss a thing.
'Cause even when I dream again, the sweetest dream will never do, and I still miss you, baby. And I don't want to miss a thing. Don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep, man. I don't want to miss a thing.
Did you move your hand like Christina Aguilera while you did that?
I tried not to, but it just feels natural when you're just like trying to hit a high note that you like raise your hand up a little bit.
Who, me?
Ah!